And welcome back for another episode. So let's have a quick peek at what's going on. First of all, with our trade deals, we did gain a little bit of money. Nothing huge, but a little bit. And, of course, in terms of research, actually, other than the stuff already pointed out at the end of last episode, we've already started redesigning our ground units. And we'll be basically doing them anew. Some of them will be, since we do have the better caliber guns already and higher armor, it does mean that our troops will be notably more effective than before, which is why we are going to redesign them. And with the updated units, of course, we should be able to do a lot more. And of course, we do hope to get the better gunpowder storage and such started this year, or gunpowder storage is going to be researched this year, there's no question about them. But hopefully we can also get the better sailing technologies, so that we can start redesigning our ships. Because we already have the better armor, so that would make a lot more extra room in our ships. But we still want to get the better sails as well, just to get the improved speed and range for our ships. In terms of colonies, we are currently bringing in more mines to the new colony in Bay of Bengal, and I'm pretty sure that we will bring in some factories here as well, just so that they can then start building more mines on their own. It's of course going to be rather slow at first, but I'm sure that it will improve, especially considering the better mining speed that we already have, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, indeed, we do. So that's going to be rather useful. And it allows them to expand on their own. Of course, there's not a huge production of things there, but I'm sure that especially the wood will be very useful in the future, as well as a little bit of food, and the quantities are huge, so it is going to be useful, especially for our economy. Less maybe for our industry, but they kind of go hand in hand, so it's not that bad. In terms of diplomatic news, there's not much news for us, at least right now. Although the world is currently at war, there's not many nations that are not in open war right now. But we'll be focusing on strengthening our position here near our territories, and hopefully we'll be able to expand a little bit more this year as well. And we're not really doing all that much with our fleet. We have decided to stop the anti-pirate patrols for the time being, considering that we haven't spotted any activity of pirates near our region. So we'll mostly be wasting the fuel, quite frankly. But we will be potentially doing some trading exercises later this year, so make sure that our fleet is in good shape. But anyway, that's about it for the intro here, so I'll see you in a bit. We have completed research on the better gunpowder, so now we started figuring out better sails. Of course, after that we'll have to design the new gunpowder storages as well as new masts for our ships. But those will help us keep our effectiveness of our ships higher. We now completed the research of wealth generation, and we've now started researching faster research rate. And of course the wealth generation will help fix our economy a little bit, and the faster research will then let us research a lot of new things. Of course we should be able to research a lot of new units soon as well, but I think we're going to save that for once we're done with the crown formation construction rate, so that we can then start updating our armies a little bit faster. We have completed our research on better accuracy, so we now started designing better fire controls for our ships. We had completed designs on the new fire controls for our ships, so we now started researching a bit better optics so that we can perhaps spot the enemies a little bit further away. We have completed making updates to our military now, so we've gone ahead and updated some of our units here, and due to the news that we've heard from our allies, the Ottomans, that the initial troops were perhaps not quite as effective as hoped for, so we've reorganized some of our units a little bit differently. Of course, the old units will still be the old units, but at least the newer units that we build will be much more effective. And we separated mortars into their own battery, which does include some siege mortars. Actually, we do need to update those siege mortars still in this particular formation, and probably a few other places, but we've now made so that we have our logistics are in the headquarters itself, and then there's the baggage train which will basically just act as a reserve for the headquarters. And of course, we updated all the units, so with these updates, our forces should be much more effective in battle. Of course, we are not in a war yet, so we don't necessarily need to worry about that too much. But if and when we join a conflict or start an invasion somewhere, then it is good for us to have good troops, so that we can easily defeat any resistance. And there we have it, that's another year. Of course, for us the year wasn't as dramatic as probably for most of the other nations, because we are still out of the war. We're kind of considering our options right now and waiting to see what happens. We have heard of the raid of Philadelphia, but we are not quite sure which side we should commit ourselves to. Both sides have approached us and invited to join the war, but we have so far not given a definite answer to either one of them. In terms of shipbuilding, we are building pretty much as much ships as we can to expand our fleet. I mean, fleet is not huge yet, although we have a lot smaller area to defend as most nations, so we can easily shuffle the fleets around. In terms of researches, we have pretty much updated our entire army now, which is rather good. Those new units will probably work quite well against any enemies that we might have, be that neutrals or other players. Because we are researching the better sailing technology, and hopefully we can achieve that next year, although it's going to be close. Of course, we'll get the capacity recharge rate, so we can get the faster reloading cannons, and then we are getting the refueling system upgrade, which is going to be rather useful. And then we are getting the research rate, which we are going to get next year at some point. I'm not entirely sure when it will be exactly, because the wealth will change a little bit. And then thermal sensor sensitivity, so we can get a bit better spy classes, at least for the larger tiers a little bit. In terms of construction, there's nothing hugely out of the order. We're getting some research facilities in Calcutta still. And then we are expanding the mining facilities here in the other colony that we made, which is actually growing quite quickly. It has already 3.5 million population, and while it doesn't mine a huge amount of resources, it does mine a little bit, so that's going to be good later on. And then of course we do have the civilian mining colony here, which is producing a lot. We are actually going to be gathering up the minerals. We should be sending them to probably the colony actually, just so that they can have a bit more variety on resources, and then from there we can grab anything that is, we'll set up reserve levels here, so that we'll have at least a little bit of everything. Not a huge amount, and the rest of it will go to Calcutta, I think. Because Calcutta has a huge productions and rather large stockpiles already, so we will be able to expand the economy over there quite nicely. In terms of economy, these numbers are not quite correct, since we just stopped building any maintenance supplies, because we're not really using our fleet right now, not to any huge extent, and our stockpiles are already large enough to support our fleet for a while. So we don't need to produce those, and so the major supplies production is going to be cut off entirely, so that's going to mean about 1200 profit with the economic modifiers taken into account. But yeah, about 1200 profit per month, which means that, and with the trade deals that we have, we should be getting rid of all of the debt that we have, so our economy will be fixed next year. That's already guaranteed. In terms of mining, we are getting a lot of everything. I think food is still the lowest one, just barely. We don't produce all that much brass, but we don't really use the brass all that much either, so it's fine. We're making a lot of stone, so what we should probably do is use that for construction factories and maybe start expanding our shipyards a little bit to be able to build more ships, especially now that we know that our economy will be fixed sooner rather than later, so we can actually afford that without any problems. In terms of fleet movements and surveying, we don't really have anything planned right now. We're still kind of waiting to see what happens. And we are surveying a fair bit of surrounding regions now. We might be able to start colonizing something in the Arabian Sea, for example. Maybe Gulf of Persia. We have surveyed a little bit of Eastern Indian Ocean, but there's still plenty to survey there. But yeah, we should start looking for more colony locations so that we can set up those and start expanding our economy. And speaking of economy, our civilian shipping line, which only has one colony ship and 3 freighters, has been doing amazing this year. Or rather, yeah, the past year. Income of 180. Of course, since we have all our ports in relatively nearby, so the ships have a lot of time to go between the ports trading throughout the year, so that is good. And they are gathering up a nice wealth, so they might be expanding soon. But all in all, this year has been fairly calm. I mean, we've been expanding our economy, we've been researching a lot, we modernized our army a little bit. We did, as I did already explain, but we did do a fair bit on the formation templates to make them a little bit more effective in combat. There's still a few things that I do need to change here, most likely, but more or less it should be alright now. Did we... oh, we did get the siege model. Okay, so I do need to switch out that, but there's probably... we're building a lot of army, so that might be preventing us from switching it right now, but we'll get to that eventually. But our army is large, it's a good quality, and it's probably currently the best organized army, if I say so myself. But that's about it for this episode, so make sure to check out Rival's channels, links are down below in the description, but other than that, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.